fabulous us.
Indeed it is. Yes, we're back.
Hi, happy 2023.
Hmm.
This is WGSN-DB Going Solo Network Radio, TV, and podcast #1 Internet Singles Talk Network. And this is Let's Talk About Dating with Christine and Barry. Hi, Barry.
Hi, Christine.
We actually got to meet in person last week after almost 2 whole years of just meeting each other on the
Yeah,
computer. That was really fun.
it was indeed. I'm so grateful we get to sort of recognize that who we are here is the same as we are in real life. It's wonderful.
Isn't that amazing? Because, in dating, that's not always the truth.
We could go in a whole different direction with that conversation. Yeah.
Yeah, what people put on their profiles, what you do through texting and emailing, and even on the phone, and even video. Video is a little harder if you actually Zoom or Skype. And I think anybody that's done any amount of dating has probably been a little surprised when they met people a few times when they met in person.
So, question: what do you mean by video is harder? Meaning it's harder to hide the truth, or
Yes, harder to hide the truth of who you are.
just to be clear, yeah.
Yeah, because one of the cool things is when I recommended that people start doing Zoom and Skype and FaceTime during COVID, I mean, you and I every week, you see a little bit of our home life of this is sort of how we live. And that doesn't happen without a video. And it even doesn't happen if you meet for coffee or wine or lunch or dinner. It was like added an extra little intimacy into me see about who I am and a little bit of my environment that you see. I like pictures, you like plants. I mean, really, it's kind of fun to feel like you're getting a little of the inside scoop about somebody over and above what they're telling you.
Yeah, that's the reason why I think a lot of times, since we're talking about dating for the new year, that sometimes meeting somebody through Facebook or through one of the social media apps is way better than the dating apps because the social media platforms tend to show more information, like Facebook especially when you find out, like, like somebody who I actually met yesterday on a date through a friend of mine. I actually saw who our mutual friends were. It's like, oh, it's intriguing because then the thing is, that's the other part. You can, because it's about authentic people, is you can ask your friends about that person before you actually meet them. Like, is the person real? What are they like? And they can tell you, either avoid them or like, oh yes, great person. So it's in a way, social media platforms for dating, same as if you see friends referrals. Well, I'll get to that in a second. Is that you get to see more authentically who the person is. But of course, with friends referrals, where they want to send you their friends or have you, do a blind date with one of their buddies, they're probably going to talk both of you up before you meet each other. Yeah. So you're going to be. It's like you got to know how to navigate this whole process of dating in a way.
Oh, I think you're really right about that. And I certainly don't recommend, if you're meeting somebody on a dating app, to allow them to see your Facebook or any of your social media until you've really met in person. Yeah. And if you're meeting, though, through Facebook or friends or somebody's liked a post, then you can stalk. And it was funny. I was invited to answer questions on one of the new Facebook widow pages. Mm-hmm. And we were on for 2 hours. And one of the things that came up was, we women are major stalkers. We'll go peruse your entire, and this is what all the men did too. They went, really? Taking notes about that. And then it was funny because a couple of the guys spoke up and they said, yeah, if I tell my daughters anything, they will tell me everything about the woman in like 15 minutes that I never thought to look. So I love your surprised expression.
Yeah.
It seems to be more of a female thing that we like digging deep into, well, what sort of friends do you have? And what sort of, do you post inspirational things? Do you post things that you do, your activities? We like looking deep.
I'm so glad my Facebook profile's clean then. If anybody's stalking me, I make sure I'm representing myself as my authentic self. But this is another part of the conversation.
It encourages you to do that, right?
Yeah. So hopefully anybody watching this now will clean up their Facebook profile. Because the thing about this also is that, it's more from the 20-year-old type people, is oftentimes they post pictures on Facebook or on Instagram, where they're drunk, partying, something like that, which they don't put on the dating apps. So in some ways, Facebook is the exposure of who you really are to the world. So if you're someone who's concerned about your Facebook profile showing people things you don't want to show people, you may want to clean things up. Yeah. But again, as you said too, in the dating apps, before you show them your social profile, as in they can stalk you or find out more about you. Because the other thing, the benefit also of the dating apps is that in some ways the information you provide is more contained. So you don't have to tell them the good, the bad, the ugly, which may be on your social media. Although a lot of people use social media to look how pretty they are or perfect they are.
Yes.
Is the thing is that you can keep it somewhat contained. But we said before in one of the previous talks about dating apps is that almost all the dating apps now let you do video or audio calls in between.
Mm-hmm.
We'll always say, even in the new year, use the features in the app to connect with somebody before you commit to an in-person meeting or before you start giving them money because they need something to get out of jail type stuff, which some of the scammers do. Use the features in the app because, first of all, you get to verify this person's who you think they are. And secondly, you'll scare the scammers away. So before you even go in real life, in person, or show them in social media, make sure the person you're talking to is really who they are. Mm-hmm. And so sometimes to invite somebody to connect through the app, and the other part is also not giving your phone number out yet, is you can do a video call or an audio call through the app without giving anything personal out. Mm-hmm. It's sometimes way safer to do that before you go down the road of exposing yourself to them.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Such a good point. And what I found too is using Facebook dating, some of the men have made visible to me their Instagram account. I don't have to share mine with them, but it gives me an opportunity to look a little deeper into them, which I thought I didn't ask. They offered, and I thought it was very thoughtful.
That's cool. Yeah. So for me, Facebook's much more. For me, Instagram's much more contained, like perfect shots and sort of stuff. But so for sometimes I think Facebook's more authentic. That's just my experience. And of course, I'm not sure it's true for everybody. But with Facebook, because with Instagram, it's doesn't really tell much about the person except what they want to put up on presentation for me. Whereas Facebook, you find out who the mutual friends are, you know a bit about the history, they put where they went to school, where they lived. More information is there, so it can be useful as a resource. So, just saying Facebook can be a good, as you said, for the women, a deep dive into finding out more about the men, and we're like, oh crap, we need to clean ourselves up.
That's exactly what all the men on the call said. It was pretty funny.
Yeah,
and what's so fun is to say something like that for men that go, wow, I had no idea. And then we could say stuff to women. They'll go, wow, I had no idea. That I think one of the things that would be really good for people to think about in this new year is, what don't I know? What do I don't know that I don't know about men and women and dating? And do some digging, do some variety of searching, because just with that tiny little piece, you're like, wow, that is really important information to know. I don't feel like I'm letting the cat out of the bag, because don't you want that?
Yeah, just between us. Nobody else is going to hear this.
But just to think, I always want you to be authentic, of course, with what you're sharing. But if you have something that is a little out there that isn't just for everybody, or it's not who you are as a person, just think about it. Because I think people can get complacent. And so if you want us to see you in your whole light, it might be good to have some discretion.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. In fact, to take that point a little bit further on the self stuff is that dating for the new year, first of all, is obviously the new year. So people do resolutions and we can have a whole rant on that stuff. It's not about resolutions, but what do you intend? That's my focus. What do you intend for the new year? And if dating in the new year and a relationship in the new year is something you're making a priority, I'm going to put this out now because we've talked about it before as well, is how ready are you? How much stuff is in the way of that, or how much heartbreak have you had before which you haven't done anything about yet? I know I talk about healing in my work, but I know healing is such a flat term, but the reality is, are you a whole person again? Or are you looking to find someone to fill a gap you think you have? Or thinking that when you find somebody to be with, you'll feel better about yourself? It's like, you got it backwards. Feel better about yourself before you go dating for a start. You don't need that person then. And secondly, you'll be way more attractive to that person when you do meet them. So this may be the year to start doing some of the deeper work with a guide, a coach, whatever, or a seminar, a book, but navigate it from a place of wholeness so that you become a much more attractive prospect when you go out dating. Raise your vibrations, raise your standards, and then you meet someone of higher standards as well.
Oh, such a good point. And as you're looking at the new year, to think about I know lots of people, especially in the business world, are always saying, what's your goal? What's your 1-month goal, your 6-month goal, your 5-year goal? And I have a friend, it amazes me that everything she ever writes really does happen. It's fascinating to me. And how I was raised and who I am as a person, that's never worked. I'm like, tomorrow, next week, 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But one time, it's been, wow, maybe 15 years ago, I attended a seminar, and it wasn't the seminar leading person, but it was one of the people I was having lunch with. And I was saying this is because they said the same thing, and I'm struggling as usual. And she said, here's a new way to look at it. So maybe there's people that doesn't work for them. This might work for them. How do you want to feel? How do you want to feel next week? How do you want to feel next month, in 6 months? I can do that. It was so like, oh, there's a whole nother way of looking at the same thing, accomplishing the same thing. Writing about, if you're a high feeling person, which I really am, that's how I lead in my life. And so that made so much sense to me. And when I started writing that down, I'm having some of the same results my friend did, that when I write it down, it's happening.
Yeah.
And I'm writing it in this new, different way.
I absolutely agree with you. That's something that I for myself have learned more and more, is that, and I'm a somewhat visual person, used to be a photographer and stuff like that, but it's only 2 dimensions if I don't have the feeling to go with it. So it's almost like, for me, it's a combination of how do I see it, but also as much or as important is how do I feel about it. So I understand exactly what you mean. It's key. And most people, unfortunately, have been told to visualize, which is a visual thing, of course, that they don't think about adding a feeling tone or a feeling component underneath it to raise it up. Because yes, for most people to have a sense of what they want, oftentimes they're going to see a picture of it. And so, of course, the magazines are the way to do that, because you get to see it portrayed like the perfect couple. But the truth is, many of those perfect couples aren't perfect. So you might see a couple in the market, or a couple, in a magazine or whatever, it's like the perfect couple. The baggage they have that you haven't talked about or is not seen on the screen, maybe something you don't be aware of, so that you don't feel so attached to looking like them.
Yeah.
So absolutely, the feeling is key, because if you feel close to, supported by, honest with, healed around all these sort of things, you won't see that, but you'll feel it. So yeah, feeling is so key in this.
And often people will say, well, I want to feel in love. Okay. How much do you love yourself?
Right.
I mean, that's always the question I turn around and ask myself. I want to be in a happy, healthy relationship. How happy and healthy is my relationship with myself?
Yes.
Because, yes, the other person can assist you in feeling better. I think it works best if you start out feeling pretty darn good yourself.
Yeah.
And then the other person really can enhance it. And often, if you're not in a really good place, the odds are really high that you're going to meet somebody else that's not in a really good place. And is that going to really work out well? I mean, when I talked about my first marriage, how we were both truly these half of people, we were so young and had not fully developed at all. And in that marriage, we never became whole people.
Right.
We pushed against so much of who we really were as people. We just were not a good match. That when we left, I know I certainly became a much more whole person. I think he probably did too. We didn't have kids, so there wasn't any rancor, but there wasn't a need to stay in contact. And so I'm really clear about how my relationship with myself and how I feel about myself and how I want to feel next week and next month is going to have direct effect on the people that come into my life.
Yeah. And it's funny what you said there about, before you meet somebody, you can meeting people who are in the same boat sort of thing, with the same issues. That's feedback, by the way. Because if doing it from the other perspective, if you're finding yourself going on dates with people who have incomplete resolution with their past relationships, or feelings of neediness, or feeling like they're being abandoned, look inside yourself and see where there's a reflection of that, or a counterpoint to that, because 90% of the time it's a reciprocal, or reciprocal connection. You know, I
Oh,
talked
yeah.
about this in my work about the pattern intersections where we tend to have these dovetailing patterns, which is an old woodworking term, but the sense of where your patterns two tend to match each other. So you end up, if you're not resolved with your past issues of abandonment, you find somebody who keeps neglecting you. Or if you find someone who's, you know, so needy for love, it's like where you have an incomplete, where you're not loving yourself enough, where you feel drawn into that contagion, that neediness feeling. So absolutely, this, whether you're dating and finding that's the people you're meeting, or if you don't, or if you just, even if you go out and meet somebody new who's not doing the work, that's feedback. And so
Mhm.
this may be the year to do the work so you meet a better quality of person.
So what I find is if you can do some reading, just do a little searching. And if you start reading something, you're like, I never thought about it that way.
Yeah.
Wow. Or, wow, I don't agree with that at all, which is certainly okay. Do some more digging to
Yes.
verify why you don't agree. Do you really not agree? Have you done research? This doesn't fit you? Great. Is it just, no, that's just so foreign from the way I'm thinking, and I'm just going to stay in my little box over here the way I'm thinking? If you're not meeting the caliber of person that works for you, then it might be that you do need to change your course a little and not be staying over here in this little box. So just explore. Make this like the beginning of this first quarter of the year, exploring, learning more about you, learning more about dating. Both of us offer a chance for you to talk to us complimentary. Do you want to
Mhm.
just come give us some scenarios that aren't working? And all we do is give you a little like, well, have you thought about it this way? And have you looked at it this way? And in my experience, it's been, or with my clients, it's been. And it's such an eye opening conversation, I have found, for the person on the other end of the phone. I'm sure you do too, where they're like,
Absolutely.
oh, wow, I never thought about it that way.
Yeah. And to be transparent, I'm not doing complimentary right now. I'm actually charging for my talks because, frankly, the value they get out of the talk is worth the investment. you know, well, I've got a coach who's giving me guidance. So, and that's, by the way, one of the things about being good coaches, you have to have one above you who's giving you good guidance too. So, but the thing is that it is worthwhile. I mean, I've got a book on Amazon for $20. They could give you all the tips you need if you really take it to heart. But there are plenty of books on Amazon or Barnes and Noble or anywhere else. And there's lots of free resources online, PDFs online you can download or websites you can peruse. I mean, the 5 Love Languages alone, which is a website that Chapman has, you can find at your love language type for free there and transform how you relate to other people. So
Mm-hmm.
the resources available to you from zero to thousands of dollars is totally available to you if you want to do, excuse me, that you're recommended to do the inner work to know yourself better, but also to know what you're looking for better. Just to go on the dating apps and swipe with the hope that you'll meet somebody. And I've done it myself, just to be transparent. When I forget to look at my own value, that's a key, by the way, to go in with an intentional, conscious place, to know that your value is such that you don't just want to settle for anybody. So do the inner work, read content, watch videos like ours, which are on YouTube, so you can get no more content for free. It's 100
Mm-hmm.
shows up there now. There's stuff out there you can get value from that can change your perspective and help you become more refined in your searching and your choosing, so you choose better. So yeah, this is a good chance to do that. New year, new beginning. Take some new lessons into heart.
And another such a great suggestion inventory is the Myers-Briggs personality test
Mhm.
and the
Yeah.
Enneagram. I mean, oh my goodness. You will learn so much about yourself
Oh
and
yeah.
what makes you tick and where your strengths are and where your weaknesses are and what things you might want to work on or no, oh gosh, yeah, I'm really not good at that. So I need to have support in this area. Because
Yeah.
I don't expect to be good at everything and I don't expect anybody else. What I want to do is go, oh, yeah, that's not one of my strong suits. And this is how I make up for it.
Yeah.
I need spell check a lot because I am not a very good speller. So I admit that. And I'm great. I'm grateful that I have an editor that's a really good speller.
Hmm.
So I just send her stuff and she makes it all pretty. And I used to struggle. I was such a struggly person about that as a kid because my mom was a really good speller and she didn't understand why we'd study so much and I still would have trouble on my spelling test. And finally I just went, I don't have that gene. I wish she had passed it along to any of her children. All three of us don't have it. But it was finally okay to go, oh, it's not my thing. It's not
Yeah,
my thing. I try really hard and I have lots of places to keep me from putting something out there with really bad spelling and grammar.
right.
But I'm an okay person, even though I'm not a great speller. And
Hmm.
wasn't that a wonderful revelation to come to? And I think as adults, we forget we can go back and do that kind of stuff. Oh, I'm not very good at going out in big groups. So, how could we find a small group for you? I'm not good at starting conversations. Well, let's come up with some things that are really tried and true, and we'll practice them a bunch so that you'll feel more comfortable. I mean, first, you have to start out with what do I need to learn and get better at and admit it rather than, oh, I can't go do it or go out and then you feel foolish, which is
Right.
kind of damaging to our poor egos.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's to get to speak to that early point. By the way, we said the Myers-Briggs, and there's DISC, and there's human design, and there's so many different tools out there you can use, which can help you really learn about yourself and what is your strengths, not just who you really are, but your strength you can lean on. It also helps you clarify what matches that, what fits with that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Myers-Briggs now, I think they call it the 16 personalities. There's a website called that, which is 16 personalities. That again can help you just find out who you are, but also can find what matches you too. Because oftentimes you might discover you're around somebody and you're not sure what's going on, and you can look at your test if you're willing to, and if they're willing to as well, of course, compare your scores or your measurements. You can discover, oh, that's why we fit together so well, or
Mm-hmm.
fit together. you know. So, and that's the thing, and not to say that you should be testing everything, but I've become somewhat passionate. I'm not an expert in, but become more passionate about human design because it also shows where people's designs, for some want of a better word, fit together better or don't, and we can change and improve. So this is maybe what's the one looking for? I mean, I know numerology, but this is a 7-year, which means something. I'm not from what it was, but it's definitely about inner transformation as far as I'm concerned. So again, dating for the new year sounds so simple. But when we're talking about the deeper stuff to learn more about who you are and what you're looking for, we haven't got to when you go out there and date.
No, because that's what we're going to talk about when we come back
Oh,
from our
great.
break,
Perfect timing.
isn't it? We'll be right back.
Yes. And we're back.
Hi, we're back talking about dating in 2023.
New year, new beginnings.
Yes. So the first half we talked about getting ready
Hmm.
to go out and date and how you can start feeling more ready, more prepared, more centered, more grounded, more knowledgeable.
Hmm.
Because we all want to think we kind of sort of know what we're doing when we're putting ourselves out there.
Yep. So more aware of ourselves in a way.
Yes. And I think I'm kind of a fun person to study. I like learning about me. I think it's an interesting thing. I've been doing it for a long time and I hope to continue to do it for a long time. And then, how can you tell somebody else about you if you don't know about yourself?
Right. Because a lot of us have been trained or just have got to the point where we just tell ourselves what we've done or what accomplishments we've done, which frankly are wonderful. But ultimately, a relationship is based on much deeper qualities than achievements. It's more about who we are, which is kind of the biggest work. And so self-awareness, and yeah, I've been on this journey a long time myself too, is a bigger part of the puzzle. And so many people, frankly, in the dating arena, yeah, we'll go here, are wired or caught up in the paradigm that they want to find that other person to make them feel okay. We talked about this before in other talks about self-codependency, but also it's almost they don't feel they have, I won't say value is not the right word, but because they haven't done their own self-awareness check, like their own checklist on, no, it's not the right word. Their own the inner credit score. There's an interesting way of putting it. But having this paradigm of where we're so caught up in like looking out there for something, we're not actually valuing how important we are, how good we are. So oftentimes we settle for less than we really deserve because we think just having that person in our life is enough. And when we start to do the real inner review, we discover, wow, how amazing we really are. Like the gems that we bring forward into the world, so we can raise our own standards for relationships. So there's that to look forward to as well.
Mm-hmm. And I've heard a lot of other people saying it, and I've had the feeling as well that 2023 is really going to be potentially really positive because, oh, we just talked about it. Well, and you think of how 2020, we all just didn't know what to do with ourselves. You know, we had to stay home and wear masks, and we're afraid we were going to die, and lots of people did die, and it was horrible. It was just kind of a nightmare. And then 21, could we open? Do we close? Do we wear masks? Do we meet each other? Do you even hug somebody? Can you sit next to them and have dinner? I mean, really, it was still very up in the air. And last year, I felt like people were starting to come back out, you know, venture out, much more social things. Restaurants were back up and running. Your church was back up and running, that we got to feel like we were doing some of our normalish kind of things.
Yeah.
And what I feel like is there's always something positive I want to learn from the hardest things.
Yeah.
So what's the positive part that I can now bring into this new year of being more grateful for being able to go out, being more grateful about being healthy, more grateful that I like that people are making up their own minds about going out or getting vaccinated, or what are they going to do with this next phase of their life, that people seem to be getting more vocal about it. They're more interested in talking about it. I certainly was a little complacent about some of the things in my life, and I know that my family and friends were as well. And I don't feel complacent about much anything anymore. I feel like I want to be present in all of it. And I think that could have a huge positive effect on dating.
Oh, totally. I mean, so getting back to something you said, I want to touch into, like my spiritual center that I've been going to for 27, 28 years was basically online only for most of 2020 and all of 2021 up until July of 2022. So, and we only were doing services once a month initially because it's kind of that tentative reopening stuff. And then people came back in a flood, and then they got panicked and scared and backed away again. It definitely was, even though 2022 was reopening, in some environments, it was definitely finding the way back to balance. So somebody was overconfident, then it was panicking, it was like nervous and everything else. But by November, we were back to every week. Only one service, not two, but still one service in person. And it was definitely a case where, and it's also been, to be honest, somewhat less than normal count. Normally you would have 800 to 1,000 people there every Sunday. We're getting maybe 200 at the moment, which is fine. But what I'm definitely feeling is that not taking it for granted. Because yes, we're going for many, many years. And yes, I loved it every time I was there, but at some point it kind of got easy.
Yeah.
And so because it's kind of more of an effort right now, because it's still that say precautions, be okay. And because I work in the greeting area, or should say serve in the greeting area, seeing friends I haven't seen in 2.5, 3 years now is such an incredibly wonderful gift. So definitely not taking things for granted. And also, even though this year is hopefully, we don't know yet, it's only January, more free and more back to normal, in quotes, the lessons we've learned over the last 2.5, 3 years, I like to think we can take those into the new year and not get comfortable, or I should say overly comfortable. We take them, that we value what happens. Because I agree with you definitely in dating. And I had a few dates on and off over the pandemic times, and some of them were very clunky and clumsy. Some of them were very lax and easy. And there's something about making sure, and so, again, another piece of the puzzle, we're talking about losing people as well, that we don't know how long we have. You know, that's the other part too, is that when we're on dates with people, not say we're desperate, but certainly to value the time we have with people, even if we only see them once and we don't want to be with them again. It's still like appreciative of the time we spent, rather than going, oh no, I wasted that time, because we don't know how long we have. So I definitely would feel that to have a sense of valuing our time as well as valuing the time we spend with others is a quality to take into this year, as every day can be a new day to explore and experience.
Yes. I so second that. Being grateful and being aware, conscious of being grateful.
Yeah.
So I even found that, okay, we're both giving our time, we're both making a chance to meet, even if you find that you're not a match. Wow, I got to interact with another person, and it's like that always had bubbled under the surface, and now I think of it even more.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know that it's still an act of bravery to go out, but it sure was before. I mean, we really were felt like, am I taking my life in my hands? So I just think thinking more gratitude each
Hmm.
day is going to just increase the positivity inside of you and the positivity in your experience and possibly the positivity in the other person.
Yeah.
Remember when that lady, I can't even tell her name, that was on Oprah that did the gratitude journal where every day you had to come up with stuff to say. I thought I was a pretty grateful person, but I found myself during the day going, oh, I need 3 things, make sure I'm paying attention. And it did up my vibration. I did feel even more positive, concentrating on looking for positive things every day.
Yes.
So that might be something to make as your goal as this year is beginning. What do you have? What are you grateful for to help you feel more whole, more together? Because you need it. I think it's mandatory to feel like a worthy, worthwhile person if you want to go out and date.
Oh yeah.
Because if you don't, people will take advantage of you. You'll meet people that probably feel just as disvalued as you do.
Hmm.
It's it's been proven over and over so much that where your attitude is, you will attract.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
let's keep thinking about ways to help you with your attitude. Not fake, real. How can we
Yes.
really help you with your attitude?
I want to underscore that point, because gratitude is one of my things I work on too, and I've been keeping a gratitude jar that I've got, that I've done now. This is the end of the 3rd year last year, so this is my 4th year starting it this year.
I
Um,
saw your picture. That was really cool.
yeah, well, the thing is also, I mean, people have been posting pictures on social media, at least in my news feed, about, you show up, you put a jar and put things you're thankful for in the jar every day. It's like, I've done that for 4 years now, so, or 3 years now, and it is a vibrational thing. I mean, it sounds fancy to use the term vibrational, but it does make you feel better. I'll say it that way. And even when you go on dates that don't work, just to add that into the context, to be grateful to realize you met somebody who doesn't fit your criteria, which means you know what your criteria are more refined. Because the thing
Mm-hmm.
about this is that every date you go on, whether it works or it doesn't work, is teaching you something about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're with somebody you're attracted to, it's like, so grateful because one, you get to spend time with somebody you're attracted to, but 2, you start notice, okay, what is it that really works for me? What are my green flags? And then when you go with somebody who doesn't work, you tend to notice the red flags more easily.
Mm-hmm.
So either way, there are things to be thankful for. And if you're desperate for things to be thankful for, the fact you got up this morning, the fact you could breathe today, the fact your heart still beats, I mean, you can be that simplistic if you want to,
Mm-hmm.
because anything that you can find gratitude for is is fuel for the self-approval, is fuel for the self-support, is fuel for the self-esteem. So being grateful for things that happen in your life, even grateful for what you get to be part of or do, are worthwhile to take note of, because it anchors it in your consciousness.
Yes. And it'll also help you have more discretion about the people that you let stay in your life. because if
Absolutely.
they don't vibrate at this, they aren't feeling positive about the world, they not all the time every day, generally they see the world as a okay place and that we're moving forward and we're going to get past the hard things.
Yeah.
You'll pay attention to that. You'll feel that it either matches you or that no, we're too different.
Hmm.
They're not bad, we're just not a match.
Key.
So the
Yes.
more clear you get with who you are, the more clearly you'll see who the other person is and be able to tell, yeah, I want to get to know them better. Yeah,
Hmm.
I want to spend more time with them, or no, just not right for me.
Yeah. In fact, on top of that, is the more you start valuing yourself, the less you'll choose to go on dates just to go on dates. Because some people I know, they're like dating just to fill up their time because they want to keep socially out and meeting people. You may start realizing that valuing your own time on your own is more important to you than just going at somebody you don't want to be with. That's gonna trigger some people.
Ooh, yeah. Would you rather be alone or with somebody you don't like?
Hmm.
That's a really good conversation to have with yourself.
Yes, definitely.
Because we certainly are encouraging you to go meet new people.
Hmm.
That's how you're going to finally meet a person is by going out and interacting with new people, whether it's one-on-one or in groups. The conversation here is don't consistently stay in something that's not serving you, that's not enhancing your life, that's not building you up,
Right.
just to not be alone. Because if you
Yeah.
don't like being alone, maybe there are some things to work on about yourself that will make you like yourself better, which is where the conversation started in the beginning, right?
Exactly. We seem to have a theme here, which is very current, and that's the thing. Dating for the new year, as the title of the show today, is not so much about getting out and dating, but it may be about dating yourself in a way. Because a lot of us, and I said us, not you, a lot of us have had times when we go on dates almost a way of avoiding ourselves. And also, again, back to the valuing ourselves, we go on dates so that we don't have to think about what we didn't do, what's good, what's bad, anything else. If we confronted, a stronger word, if we're willing to face our own self in the mirror, so to speak, and to really start to look at what our qualities are that are good, what we can improve, what we can refine, it's worth that investment up front. Maybe take January just to do that, like a dry January. How about self January?
Yeah.
Self January. Take the month to really start navigating your own relationship with yourself, to start dating yourself. Hey, take yourself out on dates. Go to a movie on your own. Go to dinner on your own. Enjoy yourself in your own company because somebody else will want to do that at some point too. Know what it's like. And then when you do go on dates, maybe February, because the Valentine's Day is in February, that you've gotten some groundwork about loving the relationship you have with yourself, that you enjoy being who you are. So when you go out on dates in the world, again, as I said earlier, you'll find what matches for you, and also you won't waste time with things that don't work for you. There's some homework
Oh,
for you.
love that. Yeah, take yourself on a walk.
Mm-hmm.
Take yourself out to eat. And I I know plenty of people that are really happily married for a long time and they love each other madly and they still have their separate interests.
Yeah,
So to make sure that you are comfortable doing some things on your own, I think is be very valuable. Do
absolutely.
some looking around about I just found out that there's a whole redwood forest in the city next to me in Brea. There's a whole who knew that, right?
I do. Yeah.
Yeah, the Corps of Army Engineers planted them. I think they've been there 50 years, so they're certainly not like the redwoods
Right.
in the national park, but they're real redwoods and you can go for a hike around it. It's in the middle of this housing area, but when you're in there, you don't see the houses and there's bubbling creeks and it's lovely. And it's
Nice.
such a pretty, and there's people there, so it's not scary at all, but you can think your own thoughts and be with yourself. And how can you be kind of comfortable doing that?
Right.
So I think that that's a really good thought about to think about taking this month and wow, once a week, start out with, 4 times now, or a couple times a week, and get
Hmm.
to maybe every day do something lovely for yourself. I think you'll learn a lot. how would you not, right? And have a conversation with yourself about how you feeling about doing this. Is it okay? What would make it more comfortable? Maybe you could ease yourself in, talk to a friend on the phone for the first half of it, or say, okay, I'm going to do the first half by myself, and then I'm going to call a friend for the second half. I don't want you to torture yourself. That's not the point.
Right.
But when it's different, it can feel kind of scary and uneasy. So
Yeah.
just dip your toe in the water. Try some new thing. We have
Absolutely.
lots of parks with lakes and ducks, and so there's lots of places to walk. I would think where most people are, except you're like your house is covered in snow.
True.
Yeah,
But you still
and I know that lots of widow people say I spend so much time alone. We'll see if we can make it productive. Like just take an hour or a half an hour and say, I'm really going to just have a conversation with myself. I'm going to look into myself and I'm going to say, what am I missing in my life that would make me happier, that doesn't necessarily include another person? You could certainly talk about the other person, but on your own, get a pet, get a hobby, write, start journaling. I mean, there's so many ways that you can be with yourself in a really healthy, growing, nurturing way.
Yeah, and in fact, to expand that slightly, I know this is such a dating-centric conversation. I mean, that's what we talk about in our show anyway. But at the same time, this can be a good time to build your friendships up. If you don't like going hiking alone or going to the mall alone, go out with friends. So you build up your social currency, so to speak. Because that's another part of this conversation is if you've been isolated at home thinking you want to find a date, maybe your skills are getting a bit rusty. So going out with friends of the same gender or different gender to social gatherings, or just go out for dinner or go for walks with them. For one thing, some of those people might be able to connect with their friends, again, back to being referred dating versus just through the dating apps. But secondly, it's like you're getting more comfortable again being around other people, which frankly, if you've been at home getting rusty, so to speak, your dating comfort may be a little bit rusty as well. So by practicing social interactions and talking conversation and getting to know each other with friends can be a great practice ground before you go out on dates with somebody who might be that most important person in your life.
Yes. Easing into it with people that you already know and like, and you already know they like you. Oh, I'm a big one for practicing. I think that's really smart. That's great advice.
Thank you.
Yeah, because you might have gotten out of practice. Oh gosh, I haven't talked to that person in a while, or we haven't gone and done anything in a while. Let's go to the movies. Let's go for a walk. Let's go to lunch. Let's commiserate about the hard stuff. And then we're gonna make a point of, okay, I used to have friends that we'd say, we set a time, the amount you can complain, and then you have to be done. And then you have to say what you're going to do about it.
Yes. That's smart though, because the thing is to ignore it, pretend everything's okay, and be Pollyanna about things isn't necessarily the right way of doing things. So I love the idea of having an allocated time to bitch and moan, complain, like happy hour. And then commit about a time, at least the same amount of time, if not longer, to think about the positive and the focus and the intentions and the goals, because then you start realigning the energy, because sometimes it's good to vent and get things out of the air, but then what are you going to do with the empty space you've now created? So yeah, fill it with good stuff.
And whining with wine. That's what we'd say. We'd get our glasses of wine and we'd set the timer, and each person had a certain amount of time to complain. And then and what was so nice is to have somebody go, yeah, that really sucks. Yeah. They're going to try to talk you. We're going to really, that was hard.
Allocated complaining time. Yes.
As you said, it really does help dump it out of you. And it can make space for what could I do to have this be different? How can I handle it differently next time? There's really room for that now once you've done the big dump. But you need to do the dump, which you and I are very good at listening to. That's what we do with our clients, right?
Oh, we do indeed, yes.
Well, we know how important it is. We value it for ourselves. We value it for our clients.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you really need that purging time, but you can't wallow.
No. Wallowing is, for one thing, wallowing is not very attractive. And two, as we said earlier, you date where you are. So if you're going to be wallowing in upset and hurt feelings, who are you going to meet? Not anybody good, frankly, in that place. So yes, get out of the way and then start fresh. I love the idea of emptying it out and then filling up with good. So that's your assignment.
Yes, and set a timer. So you
Yes.
know, if you have a limited amount of time, you're going to really whine really well. You're going to get it all out. There's not going to be any residual left. That's what I found. It works well.
Yeah, make it worthwhile. Absolutely. And then make sure you fill up with the good stuff.
Yes. So if you want to whine and then get filled up with good stuff, that's why Barry and I are here, right? We
Nicely
get
done.
the good
Nicely said.
stuff. So the way to get a hold of me is first through my website, which is www.theperfectcatch.com. And you can click on what's holding you back from love and have a complimentary conversation with me to get to the bottom of what is it you would like to be different and better in 2023. You could also send me a personal email at christine@theperfectcatch.com. You can watch my personal videos and my videos with Barry on my Facebook page and Instagram and YouTube and Pinterest and Twitter and LinkedIn.
Got it. Oh, nicely done. All 6.
For the first time right off the bat in the new year.
Nice way to start.
Yes. And please tell people how they would reach you, Barry.
Certainly. So like Christine, I have a website and social media, which I'll get to. My website, as I mentioned in the talk, is that I do now charge for my discovery sessions because, frankly, you're going to get value out of it. And if you don't sign up for coaching, that's okay. But as long as you get some value, you take some notes, and you get to go where you want to go with help from me, it's worthwhile. So on my website, which is barryselby.com, at the top of the page is a Let's Get Started or a Get Started button. I should double check what I say on that one. But also, if you just want to join my email list, at the bottom of the page, on the front page of my website, you can just click there to just join my email list, which will actually give you the replays of the show every week, amongst other things. So it's worth joining my email list as well. And on my website is my book, online courses, and other things as well. And all my social media, except for Instagram, is my name, except for Instagram is The Real Barry Selby. But all my other platforms, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, Clubhouse, Pinterest, are all my name, which is Barry Selby. And yes, all of our shows I archive as well on my YouTube channel. And I've got about 1,300 videos besides that on my YouTube channel. So definitely go to my YouTube, which is youtube.com/Barry Selby, and subscribe to my channel, because you'll find lots of videos there to teach you new things about relationships, love, all for free.
I know.
We like to give.
Yes, we're so happy when you come and watch us. And we're going to be back next week on Thursday at 1 o'clock Pacific and 4 o'clock Eastern, and all the times in between. And we're so grateful. If you have comments or questions, please put them in the chat. And then if you have somebody in your life who's struggling with their dating or their relationships, please share our videos with them. We are so happy that so many people are finding us and appreciating the information that we're sharing. It's very exciting. We're very grateful.
Yeah, we love to be able to give and serve and make a difference that way. So thank you for watching, and thanks for being with us, and we'll see you next week.
Okay. Bye for now.
Bye for now.